Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
There's only one way to be independent. There's only one way to be free. It's not something that someone gives to you. It's something that you take. Nobody can give you independence. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. If you can't take it, you don't deserve it. Nobody can give it to you. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Eric Dawson Radio Show. I'm here with co-host Diane L. Murray Clements, and we got Vincent Squire in. I've got the bottom third a little confused. That's not Lori Endicott Thomas you're looking at. That's Vincent Squire. Welcome, guys.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Just a few shades darker and hair just a little bit shorter.
Yeah, she doesn't like bow ties.
And she doesn't like bow ties. That's absolutely right. So I'll change the bottom third. But welcome, guys. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Diane, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay.
How many cups of coffee are you on?
You know what? 1 cup of coffee. I've got a cup of juice here, orange juice, and I got a smoothie.
You do have a smoothie?
I do have a smoothie.
2 minutes ago, you told me you didn't have a smoothie. Where did the smoothie just suddenly appear from?
I think when you got on about not having breakfast.
And let the church say amen.
Okay, so I was about to start texting somebody and say, look, because you know I'm a tattletale. I'm telling everything.
No. I got my smoothie in my, well, you can't see. And I keep saying this. So I'm right-handed. You see me holding my cup up.
I thought you was left-handed.
No. I do a lot of things with my left hand, but I'm right-handed. But I'm holding my cup up with my right hand, and you don't see it's a monogram cup. So if I were to hold it up with my left hand, so the handle on the left side, you would see that it's an E. So my question is the cup for me to see the E or for everybody else to see the E?
Everyone else to see the E.
So then they should have either put the E on both sides. So whether you're left hand or right hand, the person on the opposite side of you would be able to see whatever the letter was. I know my first name, and I know what letter it begins with. I don't need to be reminded of it.
You learned that in kindergarten?
So when I drink, I'm like, E. Well, it helps me remember, though, if I'm drinking, because Amina's cup has an A on it, so I can tell the difference between the two. And then in my pink cup here, I have my orange juice, so I am well set for today's show. And I won't peter off in terms of energy.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
So listen, I posted a couple things today. Let's ease into. We're gonna ease into the hard conversations, right? We were having a lighthearted conversation earlier about dressing. And I thought that it was interesting. And I said, yeah, let's start the conversation with that. So Vincent talked about how his wife is his personal dresser, right? Or personal shopper. And it reminded me of when I was a kid. And I don't know if you experienced this, Vincent, but when I was I guess before I got to be in the 6th grade, in 5th grade, all the way up to the 5th grade. And then in the 6th grade, I got a little more independence. But up until the 5th grade, I would come home and there would just be clothes on my bed, laid out clothes. My mother had gone shopping, and whatever she put on the bed, whatever she had gone and gotten, she didn't consult me. It was what I had. So, and then I would hear from the other room, try those clothes on, right? And I would just try them on. And if I liked them, it didn't matter if I liked them or not. Those were the clothes that she bought me. So when you talked about your personal shopper, I thought about the fact that I had a personal shopper all the way up until I was in the 6th grade. Didn't always agree with what she bought for me, but I had clothes anyway.
Well, I used to fight with my personal shopper because when you're single and you're dressing yourself, you think you got it all together. And, she started, put this on, try this, try that. And she's an AKA. So, she was slipping a little pink and green to my wardrobe, when I go out with her. And, I was fighting it hard. But what I realized was that I started getting a lot more compliments. So now, like when we go to church, I sit on the bed and the kids, we're like, yeah, Mommy's going to dress us. Mommy's going to dress us.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, Diane, do you dress your husband?
Anywho, no.
Do you have any influence?
Buy him stuff and he won't wear it. However, listening to what Vincent is saying, I'm okay with that, because if you go out there looking like that, ain't nobody looking at you. So I'm good with it.
I get, I have a very limited, and I have always had a very, very limited wardrobe. Amina works hard to try to expand it. But at one point, my wardrobe consisted of 2 pair of jeans, a dark suit and a light suit, a couple white shirts and blue shirts, and all black socks, gold toe black socks. I told the story about my black socks, that I hate the idea of going in a drawer, Vincent, and pulling out mismatched socks. So the remedy for that was don't have different socks. Just have all one style sock. That way, you don't have to pair them up when you put them in a drawer. You don't have to do any of that. You just reach in the drawer, you can close your eyes, and you pull 2 socks out, and they're going to match. And it saved me a lot of time and a lot of frustration. Especially when I was working in New York and had to make that train or make that bus in New York, and I'm trying to find socks that match. I said, this is ridiculous, waste of time. So then I started adopting that, and then I started paring down my wardrobe so that I had fewer choices to go through, because to me, I wanted to spend that time thinking about other things. And you know, Amina now, I think I'm up to maybe 4 pair of jeans, and then I'm now stressing about the jeans. I'm like, okay, which ones do I wear? And then she threw, and then I got a pair of black jeans too, and then that really threw me for a loop.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, and I have, and I don't know whether it was out of being a sadist that I have, you know, I had some additional color and style socks thrown into my wardrobe too. So now when I look in my drawer, I open it, and I there's, you know, I don't know what the phobia is, right? Like,
you have anxiety? Does it cause you anxiety?
It does. No. And
so does that?
See, one day I'm going to bring Amina on camera, and she'll tell you that it causes me extreme anxiety.
Wow.
No, I'm not even joking. Huh?
Did they tease you as a child about what you wore?
No, you know what? I think, you know, there's some areas of my life that I just want to be predictable, right? I just want it to be predictable. So, and orderly, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I know I'm wearing black socks. I wake up in the morning, I know, you know, I'm wearing, now I don't mind different color underwear, but I want one style. So I don't want some boxers, some briefs, I don't want that. I don't want to have to choose. So I'm a brief guy, so give me all briefs. And I just grab briefs, I grab black socks, I grab my jeans, or I grab a dark suit, or I grab whatever, and blue shirt, and I'm ready to go. I literally, from getting in the shower to getting dressed, I can accomplish that in less than 7 or 8 minutes.
You do know briefs come in different styles, so they had the thigh.
And I want one. That's right. I don't. Diane, I'm telling you. Vince is looking at me like, oh my.
So are you like the standard tighty whitey guy, or?
Hey, listen. We had that show.
Man, I mean,
we did the show on the tighty whities, and when I was younger, they called them booty chokers. Right? No, I don't. I don't prefer white. I prefer blue, and not a navy blue, not a light blue, like that mid-range blue. If I had my druthers, I would like blue briefs, black, gold toe socks. Right? I'm okay. You know, I'm tolerating the number of jeans I have now, and you know, and the suits that I have, but it is stressful. It's very stressful for me. But you know what, though? I'm a cheap date. Doesn't cost much. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't take up much closet space. See? Now, you would love that, right, Diane?
No, it's very weird because your personality is very, well, the combination of your personality and Kevin's is similar to my husband. So it's more agonizing for us to be the mate of people like you.
Why? But why? Look,
because variety spices the life up. Why does everything have to be so boring and mundane and everything the same all the time? That's just, yeah. So that's more stressful. Because we know as a mate, if we change one thing, if we move it 1/4 inch to the left or the right, it's chaos.
Diane.
I mean, chaos. If your food, now are you the type of person that your food can't touch too?
No, I don't have a problem with my food. Nope, I don't have a problem with my food touching, but I do like to have things in a place. I like to know. Yeah, like with the remote. Yeah. Let's decide. Are we going to keep the remote here or there? Now,
thank you.
Now, I I don't care where you want to put it there. But now it's there all the time.
That's a little crazy. That's like my husband. There's certain things, like in the refrigerator, for instance. I told you this before. Things have to go in a certain place.
Now I don't care about that.
I don't understand that. It goes where I can reach it.
Now I don't care. Now, I'm not a big. Well.
See, and for a man, that drives us crazy. We are so methodical that we have to have things in its place. That's how, like my kids don't understand. I know when they mess with my things because they're moved out of its place.
Now you know what? So for me in the refrigerator, I'm not so anal as to say milk goes here, juice goes there. I do believe you have the crisper drawers where you should keep your salads and vegetables and fruits, right? I do believe that you have the butter. Listen, I believe that the little butter thing up on the door, that butter should go in there, right? Now everything else I think.
Look, I thought that's what we put the where you put the hot sauce packets and stuff in soy sauce packets.
No.
In his restaurant.
No.
He takes the soy sauce packet and somebody put the hot sauce packet and put it back in the soy sauce spot.
That's not what
I'm
laughing because I do the same thing.
But if you decided that that's where you were going to put it, right? If you decided, if you say, hey, listen,
that's where I'm gonna put it at today.
This thing is gonna be for
now,
that.
Tomorrow, I may want to put it somewhere else.
No, see, now is the issue. Let's figure out where it's gonna be and let's resolve it.
And that's where it's gonna be forever.
Yes.
Don't change.
Don't ever change it. Now, wait a minute.
That's right.
Except if we get a new refrigerator. If we get a new refrigerator, all rules are subject to change then. But once we establish the rules for the current refrigerator, let that be that.
No.
I want to limit the number of variables in my life.
For the women that have to deal with you anal men.
See, that's because I can say to you, look, I'll go in my drawer, second one from the top, third row from the back, and pick up my blue socks. It drives me crazy when my wife goes, go in my room and get this. Where in the room?
I can tell you exactly where everything is, where I put it at. But
let me ask you a question then, Diane. This is a very serious question.
Yeah.
So, if you move things randomly,
right,
and then it's time to go shopping, and then I say, hey, babe, do we have any more hot sauce? Now, that means you have to look everywhere.
No, in my mind, and this is how my mind works. If I lay something down, wherever I lay it down, I can literally take a picture in my head, go back to where I was standing at that moment, and know where I left it.
I understand that you know where you left it.
You know where
you're in a relationship with somebody else, when you're in a relationship with somebody else, and you have children in the house, right? You may know where you put it, right? So you arbitrarily moved it somewhere else. But now you are the only one who knows whether you have any more, right? Because if I'm going shopping and I open the refrigerator and it used to be on the door, it was on the door for the last 3 weeks, and then when I open it, I go, oh, we have no more hot sauce, so I'm gonna go get hot sauce. I'm not gonna think, oh, she moved it. This was the week she decided to move it. I'm not gonna do that.
So tell me this, Eric, because I have a little birdie in my ear that says when y'all run out of stuff, you never tell anybody until
Is he texting you?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Hey, and another thing,
you know what?
Do they never tell you that they run out of stuff, but they wait till you get home and once you go back to the store to get the stuff that they ran out of.
But you know what though? I am guilty of that. I will use things, and I will not always indicate that it is all gone. I admit to that.
You know what you do? Why don't you just create a grocery list?
So here we go. I did. And not only did I create a grocery list, so while you're texting her and she's texting you, right? Ask her, I created a grocery list that's a shared grocery list over our phones and our other devices. So if she adds something, right, on her phone, it'll show up on mine. If I add something, it'll show up on hers, and an alert comes through.
So when the last time that app?
that is the most unused app in the entire.
Oh God, I love it.
But it got so bad that they came out with that wall chalk board. Yes, so I painted an entire wall in chalkboard, put chalk there, so that when we run out of stuff, you just write it on the board, you know. Yeah, man, that board hasn't been chalked up in months.
So listen, yesterday, I told you guys I had a meeting yesterday after the show went over. After the show was over, and the company that I am consulting with now is an extraordinary company, and they're doing work with manufacturers out of Singapore and and a few other places, and we are now able to supply masks, sanitizer, and wipes. We're working on being able to supply gloves and hospital gowns. But we're shipping hopefully our first 5 million tomorrow. So that worked out. But when I went to go to this meeting, Diane, and look, I give Amina, she does things, or she looks out for me in ways that I don't look out for myself. So I know I joke and laugh about the other stuff, but I was serious about it, about my anxiety about the clothes and things. But on my way out the door, she had me put on my 3M mask, right? So when I went outside, Diane, there were some other people out there. I hope he doesn't watch the show, but if he does, anyway, we have a neighbor, and he's an auto mechanic on the side, right? Well, I think he's an auto mechanic, but he does side work here, and so anyway, so he's got people coming. He does the cars, so. He and his customer had their little cloth masks on, but when I stepped out, I looked like Bane from from the Dark Knight. All right.
Oh goodness.
And so they both looked at me and said, "Yo, man, you serious, huh?" I said, "Yo, people are dying." Damn right, I'm serious. So I'm in this meeting now, and they're talking, and literally through this mask, I sound like Bane. I'm like, "What do you want?" So went through that whole thing. Then when I came home, Amina met me on the sun porch, and before I could walk into the house proper, she had a can of Lysol, and I had to kind of go through this mist of Lysol.
I told you. I told you that's the perfect invention for right now. You've seen it before. They've seen. I guess astronauts and NASA must have done it. I've seen it when you walk through a mist and stuff, and that could be all the disinfectant just following through you as you walk through the mud room into the house.
Well, we talked with a manufacturer a couple of days ago. They're doing something new. They do it at a hospital grade. Or industrial grade, the disinfectant and sterilizer. I mean, this stuff that they have, it kills everything. So what we're doing now is putting it in a smaller size to give to people. You just spray it on and you let it dry off. It'll kill every virus in the house. It's non-bleach, so it's safe to use. So we should basically get our first 2 tons of that by the end of next week. So we're going to start distributing that to some of these churches, some of the people who are shut in.
Nice. You test it out. Let me know how it works, Vincent.
Well, if I don't get a virus, it's good.
Hey, listen, I got to say this, too, because on the way home, there's a place around the corner from me. They make amazing food, Diane.
The place I went to?
No, it's called the Juke Joint.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that. What kind of food?
Well, a lot of it is Southern, right? I didn't like their turkey chops. You got to be very special to make turkey chops for me that I like. Because you can fry them hard, right? And then they dry. And I don't care how much gravy you put on them. You just got a lot of gravy on some dry turkey chops. So
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of their turkey chops. I love all of the sides that they make. Well, yesterday after we ended the meeting, the folks who drove me there wanted to stop, and so everything is set up now where you order outside. They have the phone number. You order, and then they come outside and they hand you your food. So I got the catfish, which was amazing, and you could tell that they changed the oil. If you're frying food, you gotta frequently change your oil because it just is dirty, right? But the catfish was clean tasting. I had potato salad. It was a little loose. They could have more potatoes in it or less mayonnaise, but the flavor of it reminded me of my grandmother. I tell you. Anyway, I'm watching people come. And I think there's a false sense of security that people have with these masks and gloves that they wear, right? So there were Uber Eats drivers or DoorDash drivers, whichever one, they were coming to pick up their stuff. And so with the gloves that they have been wearing, because they're driving their car with the gloves, then they get out of the car, then they go to the door, they touch the doorknob, right? And then some of them had masks. And they were like reaching inside the mask with the thumb to pull the mask up over the nose. So now if you had the germs on your gloves, they're now on the inside of the mask, trapped, and you're breathing them. Duh, right? Then there were other ones, Diane, who were taking their hands and adjusting their glasses, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So just because you have the gloves on, that's not it. You still have to follow other protocol. And just because you have them, and understand this about those masks, those are one-time masks. So you have people who have that mask and they wear the mask all day long. They take it off, they put it back on, they put on a dresser, and then they get up in the morning, they put the same mask on.
Right.
This is all false security, guys. And so understand the protocols, follow the protocols. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Now, somebody said to me, because they watched the show and they see me touching my face or rubbing, and I try not to use the palm of my hands, I use the back of my hand. But before I step down here to do the show, and this has all been disinfected down here, before I come downstairs, guys, I wash my hands, right? I wash everything. All this stuff around me is washed. And all of this down here is sterile. And like I told you, Amina, I'm walking through mists of Lysol all day long, right? So in here, if you see me doing it, I'm as disinfected and as safe as I could be.
No, I'm telling you. Hey, look, it got so bad last night, I got out of the bed, go to the bathroom, but when I came back, my wife was disinfecting that spot.
Does your wife talk to Amina? Like, dude, when I'm in the bathroom, I hear her spraying. And I come out, I'm like, no. And then when I get it, and then you know what, Vincent? And then that area doesn't dry. So then you lie down and it's a little moist. I'm like, yo, what are you doing?
Now I'm in a wet bed here.
Is she texting you again, Diane? Because I know she can hear the show.
By the way, the Einstein's theory of insanity came off of an interview, just like an exchange, just like you and Diane had. A reporter went to his house to talk with him because he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and she was talking with him, and in his house and walking around, and she looked in his closet, and she realized that he had on a black suit, white shirt, gray tie, black shoes. In his closet, there were 9 sets of the same suit, the same tie, the same shoes. And she says, "You wear the same style suit every day?" He went, "Yes." He says, "It takes the average person 23 minutes a day to figure out what they're going to wear. And in doing that, I save 23 minutes to actually decide on something else."
Drop my mic.
So,
there we go.
So she said to him, "Really? That's insanity." He says, "No, my dear. Insanity is the same person doing the same thing, expecting a different result."
There you go. See? So I'm in good company.
There you go.
And in fact, not only am I in good company in that sense, but I think I told you on a previous show, that a house I used to live in Berkeley Heights was a house that was frequented by Albert Einstein. And in that house, when I was there were photographs of Albert Einstein in that house.
Wow.
Oh, you see that? LA, listen, y'all. I'm just saying. I'm in good company.
You're just channeling your inner Einstein, right?
I'm channeling my inner Albert Einstein right now.
There you go.
So listen, guys. Coronavirus is real. It is real. All of the conspiracy theorists out there, and I posted this on my page, I said some of them are starting to wear gloves and face masks now. You understand what I'm saying? So because it's real, right? And I mean, it's kind of nonsensical, I think, anyway, to pose these arguments, these conspiracy theories around the authenticity of this virus. You know, we can have some conversation, but if you have it, please have it with data, right? About the origins of it. You know, that, some government agents in some back room conspired to create it, to thin the herd and all that kind. Then come with data. Come with data, because people are dying, right? And especially if you have a platform and if you are an influencer, come with data. People are literally dying. The rate of the virus spreading in New York is doubling every couple days. Every couple days now. You know, and here's the other thing.
It doubles every 2.5 days.
Every 2.5 days. And here's the thing. Imagine if we weren't doing the little that we are doing. So even when I say people are wearing these masks, they're not wearing them properly, they're wearing the gloves, they have this false sense of security, all these other kinds of things. But every little bit helps, right? We want to help more, but every little bit helps. Can you imagine if we weren't doing any of it? Can you imagine the rate to which it would be spreading?
Enormous. And you look at now, yesterday in California, a teenager died from the coronavirus. So, people have been saying, oh, it only affects, it's only deadly to the old, we can go out and do it. No, that's not true. And then that conspiracy about, the rich people don't catch it. Okay, Prince Charles reported today that he has the coronavirus. This virus is no respecter of person, race, creed, or color. This virus is 10 times more aggressive as the common flu. And we deal with somewhere close to 9,000 flu deaths a year. And this is 10 times stronger. This is real, people.
So I just kind of want to tell you that. I mean, I'm watching posts and I'm watching folks and I'm listening to them, and I'm not sure. I don't know what it'll take. For folks to but what it says to me, though, Vincent, is this: that there is a couple things. There's a pervasive amount of misinformation, miseducation. You have a large number of people who are not intellectually curious. So, for instance, I put another post on my page today, and I asked people, I said, what do you think about these Cuba doctors now? Right? See, I'm being a smart ass today. And so
they love these Cuban doctors now.
They're loving these Cuban doctors now. Well, they're loving a lot of stuff now, Vincent. They're loving democratic socialism now. They're loving the Cuban doctors now. They're loving all this stuff. Right? But there was a gentleman who came in the thread and he said, what about the Cuban doctors? I'm not caught up on it. I said, well, go read. So now you come into the thread. I mean, I want you to understand what he did. And I'm being a smart ass today, guys. So he comes into the thread, and instead of, because he's now on a computer or on a smartphone, right? And so all he would have to do is Google Cuban doctors. If he really wanted to know. If he literally just Googled Cuban doctors, within the first 10 items in that search, it would have talked about what I'm talking about. He'd had an inkling, right? But instead, his instinct was to ask me to do the work for him. And there lies a big part of the problem in our society, that we are not intellectually curious.
No, we're intellectually lazy. We have been led so much by different media groups and people telling us what is true. That's what put us in this situation. The president got up there and said, "Oh, you can have the coronavirus and you can go to work."
Yeah. Well, he's getting a lot of pushback. Well, he's getting a lot of pushback now, right? The president is now trying to, open up the economy, wants to get it done by Easter. Meanwhile, in New York, you have it doubling every 2.5 days. California is not far behind. And again, when you look, and even in New Jersey, guys, don't look at, like Dr. Fauci said, don't look at where you are now. Whatever you're doing now, you're already behind, right? There is a pattern that they're looking at. That's what they're calling their modeling. And they're looking at what has already occurred in other places that are similar in terms of density, in terms of other kinds of temperature, all of those things. And they're going, okay, there's a great likelihood that this is now going to occur here because it occurred there. And this is the amount of time it's going to take to get to that.
Right.
And that's why you hear Governor Cuomo now saying, hey, guys, look at what's going on in New York, because this is about to happen to you.
This is the epicenter.
This is about to happen to you. And so where you still have defiance in New Jersey, people deciding to throw house parties and to be smarter than the scientists and to spread misinformation, right? Look at what's happening. Already in California and other places, they're saying, hey, listen, we need to start buckling down. Right? I just got a headline that came in. It says that in Pittsburgh, sanitation workers are refusing to pick up trash after demanding better protective gear. I mean, so, like, what are we talking about? I mean, you understand? We're looking, I don't think that we have fully understood the various layers that are involved in the spreading of this thing.
Oh, what we're not looking at is the timeline. New York is the epicenter of the United States, but also on their projections, we are roughly 2.5 weeks behind Italy. So, based on the projections and what the new cases that they're finding 3 days ago, they said that in 2 weeks, in fact, in 15 days, we are going to get a crazy spike of. That's why I mean, I've never seen anybody publicly give Donald Trump a shellacking like Governor Cuomo did 2 days ago. He said, look, you're sending us 400 ventilators. We need 14,000 yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he said 30,000.
Well, I think with that, the spike is going to come because the more testing that's done, it's going to automatically make those numbers go up. That's one thing. But if they don't create a vaccine for those who are actually tested positive, then that spike is going to keep rising because people are not going to get better unless they can fight it off themselves. They've opened up more test sites throughout the state of New Jersey, I know. The PNC down in Holmdel is open. They opened up the one in Paramus around the corner from William Patterson.
And they just opened something up in Weequahic Park. I posted
they opened up one in Weequahic Park. I'm not sure if that one is open quite yet. The one at King University is open. Majority of them are not just to go. They are by appointment, or if your physician sends you with the prescription or whatever to go. So you just got to contact the counties, because the counties are actually operating them. So if you go through the county, they'd be able to tell you exactly what the procedures are, or your medical professional will be able to tell you.
Caller?
But yeah, it's going to go up. Mm-hmm.
Caller? We have a caller. Okay. So when you get on, caller, they're probably on delay.
So did you see that they now have the stimulus package that they are talking about, that it's almost ready to be approved? They sent it over to the Senate.
Yes. So, listen. See, I don't see. We keep calling it. See, I want to call it what it is. It's social. It's democratic socialism, right? I don't want to call it a stimulus package anymore, right? This is the government functioning the way that it ought to when people need help, right? So the government. So now we see it's not a foreign thing for the government to step in to be the bridge for people who need help. And so the question that I gotta ask is the question that Dr. King asked in 1952. With 40 million poor people, why isn't the government stepping in? With the homeless epidemic, why wasn't the government stepping in? Aren't all of those things crises? Now, here's the thing.
Bottom line.
But here's the thing. What they're saying, what you hear is people say, these folks who are suffering, it is at no fault of their own. That's the asterisk, right? No fault of their own, which now justifies the stimulus package. But we contend here on the show that there are policies that have been put in place that have left those folks homeless on the street, that have left the 99% suffering while the 1% enjoys life. Right?
That had increased the level of people filing bankruptcy.
Yes. So I'm saying that was no fault of theirs either. Those were actions done by maliciously, by folks who were just greedy.
Yep.
Right? And so now, if we're going to use that as the litmus, so let's go ahead. No fault of their own. Foundational Black Americans. No fault of our own. Hundreds of years of racist goddamn policy. So where's the stimulus package for us? See, this is what Vincent, before I, I'm going to calm down. Vincent,
let the church say, well.
Vincent, how many signatures did you get, Vincent?
Okay. What time did you actually put that post up?
I don't know. Let's say it was 24 hours ago. Well, 23 hours ago now.
23 hours ago. Okay, so the challenge was to see if there was anybody that actually give the crap on the Eric Dawson show that listens to him. So Eric posted my link so that people can sign my petition to run for the United States Senate, in which I'm taking on the incumbent Cory Booker. Eric also said, okay, we're going to set the bar low at 10. Now, how many viewers did we have yesterday, Eric?
I don't know.
I don't know. All right. Well, I am sad to report that the number of 10 has been surpassed by 42.
Good.
So, 42 signatures.
That's good.
So 42.
Eric, does that restore your faith in man?
So,
Well, no, not really.
No,
that
not
just
really.
says that 42 people said that they would support you. That's all that says.
Well, supporting me, supporting the cause, supporting someone who's willing to get in there and do the fight and fight the good fight for us.
Mm-hmm.
right. So,
There are people.
I'm happy that 42 people did that. My hope is that, those 42 people follow through, right? I don't know, I didn't see much in terms of the reaction.
Wait a minute, I didn't see Farrakhan's name. Farrakhan, are you listening today?
Yeah. So, look, Diane, back to the stimulus package, or what I'm calling democratic socialism at work.
But is that bad?
No, I never thought it was bad. I always.
So why do you say it with such disgust, though?
Because people don't know what they want, right? Like I said to you, right? People are conditioned to settle for less, but they want more so long as somebody else is in a fight for it. So when you're having a conversation around the condition that people are in and how to extricate them from it, you get this pushback. So I can tell you that there are people who I was going back and forth with on social media during the prior to Super Tuesday, and they literally were likening the movement of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party to socialism, all right, or to communism, right? And then when the comments of Bernie Sanders came out about him acknowledging some things in terms of medicine and education that the Cubans did, they likened him to a commie lover, right? Now, let's fast forward to where we are now. What are they doing? They are relieving all of the things that man was fighting for, right? They're talking about dealing with mortgages and rents and dealing with student loan debt, suspending that right now. They're talking about now these Cuban doctors and the value that they bring going to the front line of this fight on coronavirus. They're talking about all of these things. They're not talking about them, demonizing them. And the people who were demonizing that movement are now eagerly standing there waiting for the mailman to come down the street with a goddamn check for them. So my thing is this: give the check back. Give it back. See, stand by your principles. Be a principled person. See, but I'm surrounded in this country by people who are not principled, Diane. Be principled. So if you didn't think that was good then it ain't good now. See, it wasn't good before because it would have helped somebody else because you thought your life was okay. But now because you're in the shitter, you want help. Do you understand what I'm saying? But see, while somebody else was suffering, it was okay for you. Oh, we're not going to help those people. Let them pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Well, then pull your own goddamn self up by your bootstraps. See, I stand by Dr. King, who says, see, it is a cruel thing to ask a bootless man to pick himself up by his bootstraps.
The bootstraps.
See, I believed it then, I believe it now.
So, the stimulus package, or the socialist package.
Oh, we got a caller. Caller, go. Caller? I don't know. Okay, go ahead, Diane.
Okay, it's going to include $30 billion for education funding, $25 billion for public transportation agencies, $17 billion for small businesses, including grants to cover immediate payroll costs, banning stock buybacks for companies receiving loans for the duration of the loan of this loan, plus another year, and worker retention, payroll tax credit, and more. What they said is it's going to prohibit aid going to any businesses controlled by Donald Trump, Michael Pence, or any cabinet officials or members of Congress or their children, spouses, and in-laws.
Well, how about the businesses that control Donald Trump, Michael Pence, and all these other cabinet members? We're talking about roughly a little over 60% of this goes to corporations.
Right.
They also talk about an amount of the cash payments, a structure for the airline aid, and an amount of food assistance will also be given, and an oversight of $500 billion fund will offer loans to struggling industries. So they also set up an independent panel that's going to include several people from the Congress to oversee how the money is being divvied out to make sure that they monitor it as it is dispersed.
Well, so let's understand something. Let's understand this first.
Mm-hmm.
In Washington, you have the elected officials. So I want to start from the beginning. We are designed to be the commodity to the wealth and power of them. Right? Let's start there. Then let's say that the current chess game that's being played, the pieces on the board are all pieces that, for the majority, are pieces that have been bought and paid for by the corporation that controls the economic and political power. Right?
Correct.
And then those people, not only were they bought and paid for, but they are outnumbered 4, 5, 6 to 1 by lobbyists who are there to ensure that the interests of the corporation, white supremacy, are protected. So that's the makeup of Washington. So when they were arguing, let us be clear, when they were arguing back and forth in the House about what was going to be in this bill, there were no lobbyists for the people there. They were all lobbyists for these corporations. Let's be clear. That was the argument. That was the tenor and tone of the argument. You had airline lobbyists there. You had pharmaceutical lobbyists there. You had Wall Street lobbyists there. You had all of them. They were arguing. They were all arguing about what they were going to get.
So Schumer said that, one second, Vincent. Schumer stated that the proposal will apply to freelance and gig workers who wouldn't ordinarily qualify for unemployment or state benefits. They would receive an extra $600 a week. Applicants for unemployment would also get an extra 13 weeks on top of their regular allotment, which applies by state, which varies by state, which is typically 26 weeks, which is, I believe, 6 months?
6 months.
Plus extra weeks, depending on certain unemployment rate triggers. The language that tracks with the version of the Senate bill text is still circulating and still hasn't been finalized. But that's just some of the minor caveats that's in there. Go ahead.
So basically what they did was this. The bulk of the package, of the stimulus package, went to roughly, there was 23% that would go to the people who would deal with 80% of the repercussions of this virus. Basically, working poor to lower middle class. Now, big argument was that, no, you're spending too much money into corporations, which Eric so eloquently put, are those people who fund your politicians. The lobbyists, the campaign donors, the a la cartes, all those people who basically own them and pull their strings. So, they now came up with, since Nancy Pelosi just said, no, this is not going anywhere until we make some changes, it now rose to $2 trillion.
Right.
Yes, to now add an additional, I think 400 million to small and medium-sized businesses to keep paying their employees while they're in the transition. Also, part of that is for small and medium-sized businesses to not get a grant, but to get a zero-interest loan.
Right, a zero-interest loan that you can pay up to 30 years.
30 years. So the next, now here is the best part about it. Now, we're looking at $2 trillion, right, of taxpayers' money going out to save the economy. Now, who are the bulk of the taxpayers?
The little people. Mm-hmm.
Correct. They're the ones who are going to be paying this. But who gets the bulk of this $2 trillion?
Right.
Airlines and the big industries.
Thank you.
And so for me, listen. So here it is for me. So for me, I don't have a. If you need to get, if you believe that you need to give the bulk of this to these industries, 'cause part of what they're saying is, look, we need to keep the industries afloat because when this thing all blows over, these people who are currently hurting will have to have industries to go back to work at, right? So I understand that. That makes sense to me, right? If the airline goes under, we deal with COVID-19. The airline assistants, pilots, and such, they don't have jobs because the airline industry went under. It makes sense. But
that doesn't make sense.
Huh?
That doesn't make sense. See, it doesn't make sense that corporations would go under. Why? Well, let's look at it. The average corporation has done somewhere close to $14 to $300 billion. And never paid taxes.
Vincent, I understand that. What I'm saying though is this. Let's assume I'm gonna play along with them. Let's assume that is the case, right? That they're gonna go under, right? So I understand if that they want to take that as their logic. then what I'm saying is this, that every taxpayer should now become an investor in these industries. See, so just like you know, because a lot of folks can't afford to be involved in the stock market, right? But you can share in revenue from these industries. So if your tax dollars are gonna go, if that is the belief, so okay, I'm with you. You need my money, got it. But just like if somebody else wanted to borrow my money, I want interest on it, right? So you want my money, then I want something in return for it. I don't want you to just profit from it, right? So, or have the possibility of a job from it. I want to know that I am now vested in that company. Now, you do that, I'm good. But that's not
what that makes sense.
You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying if their logic, if you buy their logic that these industries are going to go under, then you as a taxpayer, not the government, see, then this is the other thing. They said government bailout. It's not a government bailout. I'm bailing you out. So I want to sit and talk to you and say, oh, you want my money? What am I going to get?
That's true. So listen to this. So in Elizabeth, you know, well, in many towns, they have these mega malls. And many of them are run by the larger corporation, Simon Malls Outlets, or whatever they call it, the corporation name, but it's Simon. In Elizabeth, the mayor told them that they had to shut down the mall. And they told them, the Simon Corporation that oversees the malls told the mayor that they weren't going to shut down because their corporate office told them that there was no reason why they had to shut down. The following day, then, of course, Murphy comes out and says, you're going to shut down, all the malls included, because people were still going to the malls and shopping. But now they're saying to the mayor, and they sent back a response to him, and they also had the same problem in Jersey City with Steve Fulop, the mayor over there. He sent the police over there to shut them down because they blatantly wouldn't close the mall. But in Elizabeth, they told the Elizabeth mayor, where's our tax cut? We want a tax cut, a tax break, if we have to shut down our malls and we're not making any money, even though they have made, over the last year, they said, they said they wanted a $3.8 million tax deferment from until 2021. They demanded a 40% reduction in their property tax burden and $64 million to $38 million in light of other unprecedented crisis. And they wanted that from the city to pay back to them, even though their February revenue showed that they made $5.7 billion.
See, now, if it was a black person that did that, those police would have those actual executives of that mall locked up. However, since we're talking about another group who happens to have a great deal of money, they want to now negotiate their hardship with tax breaks paid by the citizens. But if you have to look at, the mall is supported by the citizens of Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should actually post this every day to remind them of their heartless and carelessness of the citizens of Elizabeth and the state of New Jersey. And, you know, why don't we just, after all this is done, why don't we just get together and boycott this mall?
Well, listen, you know, Courtney Wicks just posted something on her page a couple minutes ago. She said, how about the banks we bailed out 10 years ago return the favor? Freeze mortgages, loans, and credit card payments for 6 months. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, so this is like a one-way relationship, right? Where we're always being asked to take you out for dinner. You never take us out. We're always being asked to put out. You never put out. We always, you understand what I'm saying? No, it needs to be reciprocal.
It's called being a man.
It needs to be reciprocal, right? So, but because we don't have lobbyists, we don't have anybody fighting for us down there, right? Because we're always willing to just roll over and be a part of a party, Democrat or Republican, and abandon ourselves as Americans and what we deserve, right? We align ourselves, we forfeit, you know, our rights, and then we fight for somebody else's interests. And then we get what we get. That's why, you know, that's why, Vincent, I look and I don't see anything changing. And so now all of this that we're talking about.
We've got 42 people who are willing to make a change.
Okay. No. I'm
And I would like for you to post that again because we still need some more signatures, and let's see if we can get some more people, including Farrakhan.
So you talked about that yesterday, about how the Board of Elections in New Jersey is changing the requirements on signatures for your petitions. So normally you would go door to door, you would get your petition signed by a resident who would support you for being on the ballot, not necessarily whether they support to vote for you, but to get your name on the ballot. You turn in your specified number of petitions to your clerk's office, and then your name would be on the ballot for the election, the offices again, that you still have to bring the original back to them for confirmation. So they're not allowing you to do online petition signatures because I didn't see a link. They're only allowing you to print them, fax them, or email them back to them.
No, they're basically giving you the template of what the petition signature should look like. What you do is you go through one of your online signature companies or applications, you upload that actual petition templates, and you distribute it out through your electronic media outlets.
Okay.
And then it comes back to you. You have the required numbers, and then you take your file to Trenton. And here's the big kicker.
You, because you're running for a state office, you go to Trenton. Yeah, but
correct.
They go to their county clerk or their municipal clerk. Yeah.
No, I'm running for a federal office, which is in Trenton.
Right, but the state Congress and yeah, go ahead, Vince.
Yes. So, and here's the thing: you're also least subject to challenging, because one of the big things is that when you go to door, they challenge actually the people who have signed it. Hence, a lot of voters who are buried. So they're no longer allowed to actually they challenge this and the authenticity of your signatures. It is done by a live person with a name, address, and an email address.
You better go back and read that stuff again because they didn't say anything about not challenging.
Oh, no. They're going to challenge.
Yeah.
They're going to challenge, but this has a stronger level of substantiating the viability of the petitioner. The petitionees, because it's done, electronically. They get their name, they put their name, address, and email address. And there are not too many dead people that have that.
Well, yeah, but you can create when you're conspiring to do something. You can always create emails.
Oh yeah, I'm going to risk my reputation for a vote. Okay.
No, I'm not saying you. Many people will do it. This is politics. There are tons of people that will do it. But yeah, absolutely. But so anyway, I say go back and read those directions again. You better make sure.
Oh, definitely have. We've got a great deal of fact checkers that send me text, emails, and all that other stuff every day. Not to mention, I have a pretty strong social media platform and campaign. One thing I have to say is that I have haters. And people are like, oh, you got these people who say this and you say that. And I basically explain to them, listen, the one thing I love about haters is that haters make you bring your A game. Haters make sure that you cross all your T's and dot all your I's, because the first thing that comes out of their mouth is your grammar.
So, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. So listen, I think that the advice that Diane gave is good. If you've checked it, you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's, then you're in good shape. Those 40 plus people who signed your petition, I encourage them to get involved in a campaign, right? See how they can help you, not just sign a petition. If they believe that that you should be on the ballot, that you should, Senator Booker should be challenged, then it's incumbent upon them to take that next step, right? They took one. Take the next step.
Yes. The next step is for those who actually signed, please share it with people. And those who have not signed, that listen to the Eric Dawson show and watch this show faithfully and heard my comments, please sign. Let's get involved. Let's get in the fight.
All right. So listen, I posted something else on my page, and I sent it to you, Diane. They were talking about all these folks who are now unemployed and who've been asked to stay, work from home rather, right? But they were saying that Hispanics and blacks are disproportionately in the group of people who can't work from home, right? The jobs that they have don't allow them to work from home. And, I keep saying when America has a cold, we got pneumonia.
We got pneumonia.
And so here we have it again. So we're at a distinct disadvantage, because of a myriad of reasons. A lot of the reasons we've talked about here: the lack of education, lack of training, right? Lack of exposure, right? Just general racism that has left us in jobs that don't allow us to be sheltered in some way by this calamity. And this headline here, this is out of NJ.com. It says, as coronavirus shuts salons, black women wonder, what are we going to do? Now, well, firstly, are they talking about the salon owner, or are they talking about the... Diane?
Oh, God.
Diane? Are they talking about the salon owner, or are they talking about the customer?
They talking about the salon owner.
Hey, Diane, because you got a lot of black women angry right now.
Oh,
Diane, that perm is growing out. Hey, Diane, the color, the roots are showing, Diane.
They look like Diane King.
Diane, oh my God,
Let me tell you something.
Diane, what's going on? A lot of angry black women out here. Listen, we're gonna take it. Listen, let's take a commercial break.
I'm not in it, Diane. Go get it. He's on yours.
We're gonna take a commercial break.
Turn your microphone down for one.
Yeah.
Let's start with that, Vincent. Turn your mic down.
Turn your mic down,
And
Vincent.
Eric, we are.
Listen, Diane, we're gonna take a commercial break. Vincent's gonna turn his mic down, and when we come back, you're gonna talk to us about this. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns? Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
It's time to turn up the heat in your house or apartment. So here are some fire safety tips from Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency to keep you warm and safe this winter. Don't overload your electrical outlets. Keep flammable items away from fireplaces and space heaters. And put a fresh battery in your smoke detector. Turn to Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency for your home and renter's insurance, or bundle it with your auto insurance and save. Call 908-686-4609 or visit dlminsurance.com today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
All right, so welcome back, guys. So Diane, I'm gonna read the headline again for those of you guys who just. So NJ.com, it says, as coronavirus shuts salons, black women, doesn't say black hairdressers. It says black women wonder, what are we going to do?
Who wrote that article?
Barry Carter, a man.
First of all, he's a jerk. I'm not even going to say he's more of a jerk, but he's a jerk. The second thing I'm going to say is we invented hair care products. We will be fine. you need to look out for the Caucasian sisters that's going to be out there with the lashes falling off and the Botox that's going to be coming out their face. So come check for us.
Uh-oh.
Next subject.
Ooh. Would you like a little sauce or milk there?
So they said salons are non-essential, but the liquor store is?
Yeah, it is. That's essential for parents that's home teaching them kids. That's essential.
Listen,
Absolutely.
I know.
Because you got to think about it. If people, it's a medical thing. If people are not drinking and they go through withdrawal, what's going to happen? They're going to have to be in the hospital. They're not going to be pushed to the top. And then, they on edge and stuff. Yeah.
Diane, I think that black women
keep it up
who don't get their hair done. Because there's some women who it is a religious ritual for them.
My mom used to get her hair done every week.
That's what I'm saying. Right?
Every
so
week.
now all of a sudden you go cold turkey.
Well, you guys, I don't know.
And
Most women, the majority of women know how to do their hair themselves. They just love the luxury of somebody else doing it. But we have majority, my age and up, majority knows how to do their hair. Now, them younger folks, I don't know what they can do, but they'll figure it out. They'll buy wigs. Oh, well, they'll have wigs. I'm sure they got wigs at home, and they'll pop a hat on. They'll figure it out. All by themselves.
Oh, Lord.
You'll see less selfie shots on Facebook.
Oh, you know what? I agree with that, Diane. There would be less selfie shots. Or Diane, they'll do the angle, right?
Yeah.
They hit an angle.
The selfie shots of these women with these bad weaves and now sticking up looking like Don King.
And you men won't be able to get your blackouts no more either.
What's that called? Wild root that they used to use to black their hair out?
Hey.
Shoe polish. I don't know.
I've never done it. But I am in need, and I can shave myself, but I am in need of a haircut. Amina says I'm starting to look like Cootie Man. So I got to get that taken care of.
Well, Eric, there was another article I was looking at. Y'all are crazy. And they said that for those who intentionally spread the coronavirus, they could be charged as terrorists.
I agree.
I
mean, you remember you had people who were intentionally trying to spread AIDS? They were trying to spread HIV. Somebody was infected. They knew they were. And they were going around intentionally having sex with people, not letting them know, with the full intent of spreading it. And then there was they were talking about legislation, and I don't know whether or not it actually came into law, where they were saying that they should be charged with well, actually I think they were trying to charge them with attempted murder.
Well, in California, 4 teens were arrested for intentionally coughing on the produce. The store owner threw away $500 worth of merchandise and then sterilized it all. And then they just basically looked at the tape and found out that they were joking. They were faking the cough. But it is truly that serious. You should be charged with terrorism or even attempted murder. Definitely. Because the virus is that deadly.
Yeah. So the other thing that I posted about this, and look, I mean, it's open for discussion. I posted it up there, so my thing is let's have the conversation about it. I had it and it just disappeared. I hate when I have a post and the post just vanishes from me. But the other conversation that they were when they were talking about black folks disproportionately having to go to work, it was an article out of Vice, I think it was, that I posted, and they were talking about UPS workers, other kinds of workers, and somebody in the thread said to me that, Eric, I love you, I respect you, I always will, but that in this particular instance I was wrong. I don't know, wrong for posting the article, wrong for having the view about that. But Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to pull the article up. It was in Vice. It says most brown and black Americans are exposing themselves to. It's a ad showed up. It says most brown and black Americans are exposing themselves to coronavirus for a paycheck. It says among American workforce, just 16.2% of Hispanic workers and 19.7% of black Americans are able to work from home, while about 30% of whites, right? So that's nearly double the Hispanics and you know, a little 10% more than blacks are able to work from home, and 37% of Asian Americans are able to work from home. It says every day, Betty Douglas, a food service worker at a McDonald's restaurant in St. Louis, makes an ongoing choice: going to work or risk exposure to COVID-19 or lose out on a paycheck. She needs to support her family. At 62 years old, Douglas is a high risk if she's diagnosed with the virus. She lives with her brother and her two sons, one who has diabetes. As a sole breadwinner, staying home to avoid novel coronavirus is not an option. So it goes on and on. She says, I can't worry and focus on that. She said, I got to go to work. I got to make the money. I got to pay my bills. End of story. Says the restaurant where she works now prohibits dine-in customers in response to the pandemic. So employees work the drive-through and mobile orders, which requires fewer workers. As a result, Douglas's hours have been cut. And it goes on and on. But it says bills are not going to be paid like they're supposed to. I have less to buy food with, so I'm worried about that. I'll probably have to visit pantries. So if these percentages are correct, right? Then I don't understand what's wrong with the headline. But I was told that I was wrong. Do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think that article is wrong, Vincent?
Well, that's pretty much what we were talking about. We're talking about, you know, the basic 80% of the people who are going to bear the brunt of this are people like the woman, you know, in the article. You know, they're the working class, the to lower middle income. And they're the ones who are going to really suffer with this coronavirus, which is why they had to add it up to now $2 trillion to compensate for some of that. And then you look at it, they did a survey that the average monthly bill or the average weekly paycheck is $1,500 a week. So you tell me what this one-time $1,000 is going to do. You're getting one time what most people would make in a week. It does not make sense. And this isn't socialism. What this is, or what this bill is basically corporate welfare. It's not even corporate welfare. They're just giving them the money. I mean, it does not make sense to do very little for people who are going to pay so much of this $2 trillion, and then you're giving them very little again. As I said before, this is the biggest slap in the face since Ronald Reagan during the midst of all that unemployment. Corporations shutting down, people losing their unemployment time and checks, and he comes up with that great theory of giving everybody government cheese.
Hey Diane, I just got a text. I don't know if this is correct. Can somebody verify this? Not that I have any reason to discount what Will Hathaway says, but I trust but verify. Will Hathaway's note to me, it says, Essex County Committee has just extended all terms for county committee members until June 2021. So does that mean that so there should have been an election? They suspended the election and just are extending the term? That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Because one of the things that's being talked about now, and I think we broached it on the show, was whether or not in the midst of this, there's room in the Constitution that would allow Donald Trump to do exactly the same thing.
There was, but they changed that. It was the War Times Act. Remember, we had the one president that had this so many terms because we were in the middle of a war, because no one wanted to remove a sitting president during a time or period of war or unrest in the nation. But now in the Constitution, that has changed. And no, that part will be done, even if it's the simple fact of Congress themselves voting. That will change. He will be voted out of office because people will remember the simple fact that at the height of this virus, he told everybody that he would like for them to shut down their illness, risk your health, so everybody could go to church Easter Sunday.
So did you hear the other news? And I put this down as part of my notes, but now it seems like the number has gone up. When I read earlier today, it was about 180 or so NYPD officers that contracted the coronavirus. My reports show now that it's over 200, and it says that more than 6% are calling out daily. Remember we talked about what would happen with law enforcement, and I think somebody said, well, what they would do is call up the retired people. But now this is affecting, law enforcement, right? And so in terms of how we police, what do you anticipate is going to happen there, Diane? 200 officers. And then 6% are calling out daily or more. Oh, I don't think she's on. So
we lost Diane.
Nah, lost her temporarily. She's in the middle of work and she's multitasking.
Okay. Well, here's another thing. The New York Times just reported about doctors and nurses who are quitting because they are fearful of bringing the coronavirus home to their family.
Yeah. Well, and so now that goes to where you have, I see doctors are making their own face shields, right? Doctors are being asked to wash their face masks because they are in limited supply. And so, you want these doctors to be on the front line fighting against this thing, but the support isn't there. The support isn't there, right? And so to what degree do you think, and this is again, Vincent, where I say that the American people can play a big role in this, right? Because the more pressure you put through making your voice heard in the political process, if you understand that at the end of the day, all these politicians, the moves that they make are all based on being electable.
Right.
So if you
or
being reelected. So if you understand that and you see the dynamics of what's taking place right now, then the pressure you put on this government will have a direct and immediate and profound, should I say, impact on how the government responds to the needs of those who are putting their lives and the lives of their families on the line as they try to fight COVID-19. But when you sit silent, right, you say, and so this is again where folks say, well, I don't get involved in politics. I don't do politics. Well, okay, but once your family member or your loved one, your friend, is wheeled into an emergency room and the doctor decides or the nurse decides, I'm going home, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Now, you're going to believe that that person has an obligation to risk their life to save your family member, or maybe even you. But you don't believe that you have an obligation. You see.
Correct. And you look at, I can't say this enough, is that by the way, Plato said this clearly. Those who do not get involved with the politics of their country are doomed to live with the politics and lawmakers' rules. That's what we're dealing with. We got involved with these politicians who were charismatic, who have, who were overfunded by these corporations, and they got elected. Once they got elected, now, and there is a crisis, instead of us seeing leadership, what we see are puppets being silent by their puppet masters, because we've got roughly $2 trillion coming out, and they're getting 75% of it. Silent. So rather than them saying to these corporations and their friends, look, we're in a crisis here, why don't you convert your manufacturers to make ventilators so that we can help people get healed? We're in a crisis here. Why don't your pharmaceutical company make these test kits so we can get them out and get an accurate number of how many people are suffering or dying, or even hotspots? No, they are silent and just basically fleecing America or Americans. And the trickle down again is this. I'm going to say it again. You get the people who are paying the bulk of the taxes now going to be paying the bulk of this $2 trillion bill. The people who are going to be suffering the hardest from this coronavirus epidemic or pandemic will now be paying for the recovery and cure. The people who are going to be suffering the most, lower class, working poor, lower middle income people, will now be once again subjective to the results of their politicians. When are people actually going to wake up and say that, we've been in a system of continual insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different result? When are people going to wake up and say that our politicians cannot be part of the solution because they're actually part of the problem? When are people going to say that, and wake up and see that they have the biggest power in the world to make changes, is to get out and vote? Once that happens, that revolution happens, people have that light bulb moment, then we make social changes. There's no way that they can consider the African American vote to be the Democratic vote when there's so much social injustice to all these African Americans. Really? If that was the Democratic vote, would we have Black Lives Matter? Yeah. The best thing that we ever did was the Civil Rights Movement. And you know what? We don't even exercise or use our civil rights. Our civil rights are now basically going towards LGBTQ communities. Well, when are we going to wake up and make these changes?
Well, but this is what Dr. King said, right? He realized at some point, Vincent, that the fight was in the wrong place. He said, look, I fear because of the civil rights movement, I led my people into a burning building, right? That the fight wasn't about civil rights. The fight was about economic and political power. That was the fight. Right.
Right.
Because civil rights is broader, right? And so, yeah, you allow other people to kind of co-opt that, which is what has happened, right? All groups now are fighting for their civil rights. But what we need to be fighting for is economic and political power.
Exactly. And and those two things go hand in hand. See, what happened in the 1860s and the black movements, and where black industries and ingenuity started producing black prominence, what they did was legislate against them. Remember what they called it, the Black Wall Street? Mm-hmm. After they burnt it down and hung most of the people so that they can take their land and their businesses, now the law stated that they couldn't rebuild it because of a railroad track. So, and now that blacks cannot, or at that time could not vote, they could not vote or sign a petition to change that law. So we were actually economically oppressed by the laws. So now that we do have that opportunity to make that change, we are sometimes still in that same mindset where we are not willing to make that change because, or conditioned to make that change. Remember how we talked about the baby elephant being held as a baby, right, by a little chain around his neck? Mm-hmm. And as much and as hard as he tried, he knew that he couldn't go anywhere as long as it was around his neck. That's why you see in some circuses, they have these huge, powerful elephants, and they got them tied to a post with a little rope. because they have been conditioned so much to know that once that is around their neck, they cannot go any further.
Sure.
And that's what happens with a lot of people in the black community. It is time now that we actually realize that we have power to break that chain. And breaking that chain means we're making changes. Not only doing this, and one of the reasons that I'm doing this to change a lot of injustices that I've seen in my life, but not only doing this because it happened to me, but doing this so that it does not happen to my child. I mean, I really, really, really hate the simple fact that I had to sit my young African-American son down and give him the same talk that my father gave me, that his father gave him, and on and on and on, about etiquette and how to move and how to talk when a police officer pulls you over in a car.
Right. So here, go ahead. No, go ahead and finish your thought, because then I want to talk about some misinformation.
We need to now start breaking Farrakhan.
Hey, what's happening?
I didn't see your name on the petition. What happened?
Brother, that's the reason why I friend requested you yesterday. I went to do it, but it never would, the DocuSign thing, like, it would pop up, but it never would load for me. So I could never do it. That's what I was, so I tried to go to your page and realized we weren't even friends. I thought we were, but we weren't. So you had like 3 or 4 pages like this. I clicked on all of them. So I don't know if the link, maybe you can send me the link. Either I'll give you my title or something. You can, email it to me or text it to me. Because I tried, but I couldn't get the DocuSign thing to work from Eric Steve.
Okay. All right. Vincent Squire on Facebook. Vincent Squire for Senate on Facebook.
Okay. I'll check it out as soon as I get off. But I was calling. I don't think that black people don't realize that they don't have the power to break the chain. They just don't. Because to some degree, I think we've broken the chain. What I don't think we have learned to do is, where do we go after we break the chain? That's what black folks' problem is. I think we've actually broken the chain. I think black folks are separated or independent enough from whites, but we don't know how to stay that way. So, in other words, we just stand there, like to break the chain, and then say, well, shit, God don't have to out and just stand there. So that's what we've been doing. For 50 years, we have just been standing with the chain. So we don't know where to go. And the only thing we seem to do is keep looking at them. So what we do is we follow them. Black folks follow them everywhere.
Really? Here's the thing, and survey proves this a great deal. People say that black folks follow white people, but here's the true fact of the survey. If you want to check the pulse of the direction of society, they look at what black folks are doing. We have made so much of that.
I got to pause you on that.
Go ahead.
I would say that. The thing is this. What we do is we follow the worst things they show us. Right? So, like, black folks don't follow the best things in white society. We follow the lowest and easiest things, the things that are easiest for us to reach. And then white folks look at it, and they encourage us to continue doing that. That's what they follow us to. Right? But white folks ain't following us down the uneducated road.
Well,
white folks don't ever do that. You won't find a white kid in senior in high school who doesn't think they're supposed to go to college. And they're supposed to go to a free school. Black kids, we ain't there yet. We're not following that. Now, when it comes to following them to spring break and acting a fool, we see that black kids do that now. Black kids wasn't going crazy 20, 30 years ago during spring break like that. We can do it now. We've watched white kids do it long enough after white girls going wild and all of that. And now we do that. We do everything they do that's low-hanging fruit of their society. The lowest stuff, we do. The stuff at the top of the tree, we don't go for.
Well, let's look at some of the top of the tree that they follow us on. The music industry, how they follow us with actually... Hold on. Whoa.
Listen to what you just said.
They follow us with Motown.
The tree fall. The top of the tree was we were being bitter.
They follow us with Motown. They follow us with rap. They follow us with jazz. Look at television. You know that black. Hold on. Whoa. But you look development changed that. And they built Fox Network with a Living Color, Living Single. In fact, Living Single was so popular, they made the white version of it called Friends.
And paid them 10 times as much.
Oh, there you go. There you go. But look at how they followed us. Remember,
it can't be the only thing we're offering this world. It wasn't what we originally offered. Originally, we offered the science, right? Originally, we offered the inventing. Then that's high hanging fruit. Entertainment is the low hanging fruit. Entertainment is what you do to see people from running back out in the streets to tell everybody to go watch Netflix while we're doing this quarantine. That's the low hanging fruit. I'm talking about the high stuff.
Look at the high stuff. Look at medicine. Black alchemy. Basically they called it voodoo. Now it's called what's that drug that Michael Jackson OD'd on? It's the same thing that they use for voodoo. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The most powerful sedative out there. Look at where they followed us with Dr. Drew and his thing with blood and engineering that. Look at what they followed us with DNA and testing in medical. Look at what before he became the king of the projects. Look what look what he did in terms of being a brain surgeon and neurosurgeon. All the changes that we have made and production that we have done. If you want to know where the direction of the society is going, they look into the black community. Look at what they used to call before. What they used to call they were called illegitimate families when black women were having children out of wedlock. Now that white women started having them, they became single parent families. So society does do that. They do follow us. All they do is change the name. And we have to actually start realizing how truly powerful we are. That level of creativity cannot be matched. What they're doing at best is duplicating.
Vincent, everything you just said was the simplest, actually, the things in society in which most people I don't want to say dislike or despise. Don't want. You use single parenting as an example. Yeah, they will have to reword it to change it to clean it up for themselves, but that's not what they're telling people to target. I'm talking about what they're telling people to target. We are not doing that. We don't shoot for the stars and accidentally land on the moon, right? We're pointing at the moon and then just ending up floating in space.
Well, yeah, you're right, because one of the big things we do is that we take the gas out of our rockets. We don't tell our kids that they can be anything that they want to be. We tell them, no, they don't let black people be that.
We got a call. We got another caller.
So we end up getting stuck. But then, like I said, I think, I predict that now out into the elephant and stuff. So I just think that we've already broken it. I think by all your examples, we've broken the chain. If we just haven't started walking away.
There you go. And I'm agreeing with that 100%. And then walking away from that chain, I don't know if it's my phone or it's
another caller.
I think it's you.
We have to honor the callers. Caller, go.
Hey, good morning, guys. I think the people that are having this conversation, need to be careful with the broader conversation and context of, how far and what we, I heard a sociologist explain selfishness as people can't recognize their own selfishness because they are selfish. Now, we are in a generation that people, not all people, but people are conditioned to think about themselves first and think about their own situation before they think about the broader conversation. Matter of fact, people are not even having the broader conversation. They don't even want to hear it half the time. And before I go any further, I want to agree with Farrakhan. The same thing happened to me yesterday. Your page never uploaded for us to sign. So I don't know if it crashed. A lot of people went on there one time, but it would never load up. So you got to check on that. But the broader conversation that we're having today, and it goes back to earlier what Eric was talking about with socialism and how they conditioned us to be this, oh yeah, I made it on my own type of person, as opposed to looking at the broader scheme of things. Man, our tax dollars is being used for everything but our community. Everything. And then when you want a street paved, you got to damn near hold government hostage just to get a damn street paved. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are talking, about, people's conditions, but people are conditioned to do nothing about it. A lot of people are just, somebody else will go down to town hall. No, we need to all show up at town hall and insist that, damn it, you got to fix the damn pothole. Yeah. But no, I'm gonna wait on Miss McDaniels to get down there and raise a fuss and blah blah blah. She'll get them to do it. No, they disrespecting Miss McDaniels down there.
That's right.
So yeah, no. The broader thing is you're gonna take this $1,000 and it's gonna lead to you paying $1 trillion for these corporations that was overcharging you to start.
There you go. There you go, brother. Preach that. Preach that, brother. That's what I'm talking about.
No. Yeah, I mean, you guys keep doing what you're doing, man. I tried to sign that. I don't know if that's 2 signatures right there.
I think somebody was a little bit upset and tainted the link, but I'm going to check with Brother Dawson.
All right. No, it was the link that you gave him, but it never would load up. So.
Okay, we're gonna send that again because I want everybody to take that opportunity. And what we need to do is show Brother Eric Dawson that there are good people in New Jersey who do care and want to make a difference.
Well, you can't blame me on the link. You said you got 41 people.
Yeah, I did. But it didn't work for everybody.
Right, but
we could have gotten more.
That's not how, wait. But that's not how technology works, right? The link either works or it doesn't work. It's binary. Hello, caller, go. Caller?
I think somebody should mute their phone. I'm hearing got some interference.
No, I'm going to hang out because I'm in the truck. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right, Farrakhan.
We got another caller?
I just was looking at Cuomo's news conference that he's giving right now, right? And I just found this funny. He's just bragging because he's talking about, from this new stimulus plan, what the New York State is going to get. And he says that, they were talking about, New York is such a big spending state. And he's happily bragging that, no, actually, if you look at my numbers, his budget has the lowest growth rate in the history of New York State. Right? So that's a way of saying that he is allocating less money to his people, to the needs of the city of New York or the state of New York, than any other governor in its history. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I hear so many people talking about Cuomo for president type person, right? And like that chant. And I've always been saying, look, y'all just talking about what he's done for 5 days. Right? Because literally, right, what they're talking about is the press conferences he's been holding, well, now 7 days, right, since last Wednesday, right? Because nobody was talking about Cuomo for president prior to that, right? Well, so I just want to say, look at his history, okay, and you'll see that he's not the great guy that you are, and he ain't really for people like that. Like he said, hey, I don't increase my budget. Yeah, my state is increasing its size, and New York needs plenty of things for its people and to help function the state, but nah, I ain't giving that money up.
Well, but we gotta look in the numbers there, right? Because you don't always have to increase your budget to be effective.
True.
Right? You could, maybe you find waste.
And when a governor increases his budget, that means he's increasing the taxes.
Where do you think they find the waste at, though? You think they find the waste in New Rochelle, or you think they find the waste in Harlem?
Well, I don't know where they find the waste, but in terms of everybody yelling Cuomo for president, and there's 2 things. One, he's getting the lowest actual amount of support from Donald Trump. Guess why? New York is waiting for Donald Trump to get out of office to prosecute him. So Donald Trump is now retaliating What the theory is and what people believe. Now, people are chanting Cuomo for president because in the midst of the crisis, he broke through all of that bull crap. He's not towing the political line. He's saying, no, we need to do what's right for the people. This is what we need. You're the president of the United States. Make it happen.
They're chanting Cuomo for president because they're headline surfers. They're chanting Cuomo for president because Cuomo is looking and is willing to bark at Donald Trump and be on television, and so those people are happy that he's doing that. Now,
thank you, and I'm happy people are willing to stand up and speak truth to power.
No.
That's what he should do.
But what? Okay, I'm not going to talk over you. But what I'm saying is this: I agree in part with what Farrakhan is saying. That you can't, we can't be a people that see a person for 7 days and then say that they should be president, right? You could look and say, hey, I appreciate what he's doing, but does what he's done for 7 days all of a sudden elevate him to be presidential material? I think that's what Farrakhan's getting at. So yes, if you want to look and say, you know what, I think he's done a great job in these last 7 days. The question that I'm asking is this: is that it? So somebody does something for 7 days. You don't pay attention to anything else they've done. You see what they've done for 7 days, and you now are ready to say they should be president. I say that's why we're in the trouble we're in now. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're emotionalizing this moment. They're emotionalizing it. Now, what I'll say to you, Farrakhan, is this: if let's say he's cutting in areas where black folk are, it is incumbent then upon the mayor, those congressmen and women in those districts, right, to speak out about it. That's what their job is. So you ask the question.
But you know, that's what they've been doing. That's what Charles Barron and all of them, that's what they were doing. And if we think back to the reporting on New York City for black people since Cuomo has been governor, it's not good. It's not a good record.
Well,
he doesn't have it. Let's just think of the Eric Dawson show, and anytime you mention New York or New York City, right? And black folks having to deal with that state.
Well, so fine. And we'll do.
So I just want people, it's not to debate. I just wanted, again, to reiterate and remind black people to think bigger.
But wait a minute. But let's not just talk about. So if what you're saying is true, let's not just talk about the black folk who are on these social media pages, right, posting memes of Cuomo for president.
Cuomo for president, yeah.
I'm asking, where are the voices of those black electeds who were having challenges with Cuomo? Why can't they bifurcate this issue and say, hey, listen, on this issue, I think Cuomo is right. I think that he needs to hold the president to task. We're not getting what we need. How the hell do you send, 400 beds when we need 30,000? How do you do that? So yes, he's right on that. But whoa, hold your horses. He should not be president because of these things. So yes, we're grateful that he's speaking out here. So I'm saying that this is where our leadership, or that we elect, and I'm using my air quotes, fails, because they're silent in these things. They're silent in all of them, right? They could be outspoken about it and say, you know what? Hey, listen, we want to stand with Cuomo on this thing, however we disagree on this thing.
That's because they want some of that $18 billion.
I understand why it is.
We know why.
I understand why. But that is in turn why the electorate does what they do.
Do exactly.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So the electorate is
which is why, like you said, we have to do better than headline surfing and all that. It's like, and you mentioned about the headline surfing earlier in the show, and it brought me back to something that I did today. I think it was today with Facebook. I put up a post, but I hadn't read it yet. I just read the headline, right? Mm-hmm. So I put up reposting, but read yet. Right? So it was like, it looked like something I wanted to read that I would get to, right? But I didn't want to, you know how you lose stuff in your Facebook feed, so I just reposted it. But I hadn't read it at the time, so it might be, you know, that was my disclaimer for saying, look, I'm not saying that this is, you know, accurate or correct, but this might be something to look into for everybody.
Right.
You know, and that's what people need to do. But, you know, people, they just were, like you said, I think it was about, what was it? The guy, the Cuban doctors, right?
Right?
You said the guy just, you know, you looked at the post, but you didn't go and look it up. That's part of our problem. We don't do any research. Like, when you say, when you think about them Cuban doctors, my first thought is, you know, Hurricane Katrina, right? When Castro offered to send the doctors, didn't remember he offered to send 30 doctors, and George Bush told him no.
Yeah.
Right, and that was like a big thing. Right, so that's what my brain harkens back to. Right, when I think of it, I think of Katrina. I can go back that far in understanding the issues with Cuban doctors. Person is questioning, like, well, what about Cuban doctors? We don't know anything about them yet. Tells me how long he's even been politically astute.
Right. Caller, go.
Because
We got another caller.
I'm going to sit back and listen.
All right. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you. We're going to get that link back out on Eric's page, so everybody hang tight. Let's see how much more we can get.
Caller, go.
I just wanted to give Farrakhan a quick tip. I used to do that, reading later, but if people still end up reading that you posted up there, you have to change the privacy only on the Facebook page to say, oh, only I can see, only me. Only one that can see this post is me. So you know, you have to be careful with headlining to put something on your page, because it's still out there that you put it out there. Now, and after you read it, it is something that goes against what you think. You say, no, I can't put this out there. I delete it. I delete the post. Just can't say, oh, I'm going to put this up there and read later. No, just put it up there and say, only I can see it. Like, that's all I wanted to give that.
Oh, beautiful. You know what? You're right. That takes time. Thank you very much. You know what? I didn't even think about that, but that does exist. You can, when you go to hit post, it asks you, do you want it to be a public post? Do you want it to be a private post? Yeah. Thanks a lot, Mike. Hey, Mike, be safe out there on the road, brother.
Yeah, bro.
So, there's another thing that I put on my page, and I guess we're 6 minutes to go, and I can't wait to the end of the show, because I told you, Vincent, I was upstairs making bread pudding. So I can't wait to have a nice slice of freshly baked bread pudding. Anyway.
Oh, you really hurt me with that. I want bread pudding now.
Hey, Vincent, did I tell you that I made a bourbon sauce to drizzle over it? Did I tell you that? Hey, listen, man.
You really know how to hurt a brother on a diet.
Listen, man. But the headline that of this particular article, and we got to take note, right, is that where is it? Oh, here it is. It says, and this comes from News 4. I'm waiting for it to show up. It says, see how COVID-19 can damage a person's lungs in 3D. So the statement here is that long after you're cured, you may have lasting damage, right? So I posted the article. You guys take a look at it. But it says, Dr. Keith Morton, chief of thoracic surgery, created a virtual rendering of lungs from an actual patient being treated at the hospital. Mortman thinks the first of its kind view inside the lungs of a patient with COVID-19 has a powerful message for the public. This patient is a gentleman in his late 50s who initially had a fever and a non-productive cough.
Yeah.
Right? Like many other people, Dr. Morton explained. Respiratory symptoms progressed quite rapidly to the point where he did need to be intubated and put on a ventilator. A virtual reality 360-degree rendering shows what the virus does to the human body. So if you go and look at this, I posted it on my page, and I actually have the video so you can see it. So it's not just about, and the reason I put this up and I want to talk about it, Vincent, is people are saying, much like back when folks were, back in the 80s, right? Or back in the 70s, folks were getting gonorrhea. They were like, well, I just go get penicillin, right? And I'll be all right. Right? And then when AIDS came along, people said, oh, that's permanent. Now you got to change your lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the thought for some people is, well, if I'm not in the risk category, and now we've got to redefine what that is, because it's a 25-year-old who is fighting for his life right now. We talked about a teenager who died, right? So we got to and there was a 5-year-old who contracted. So we got to examine what the risk category is. We believed at one point that it was over the age of 60 or 70 or whatever it was, that you had some you had some underlying preconditions. But that may not be the case, because the 25-year-old was healthy, right?
Yep.
So now, but the thought was, much like those kids in Florida who went and partied, they say, hey, listen, if I get it, hey, look, and I even, here's something very interesting. And when I get off this phone, because I practice what I preach, I'm going to call my daughter and talk to her again. Because I think I told you guys yesterday that she said to me, hey, listen, me and Kelsey, we're healthy, we're athletic, my daughter is a world-class rugby player. She said, but if you get it, even if you survive it, there could be long-term or permanent
damage, yes.
Right? So that's what you now need to pay attention to, right? So it's not just about surviving it. It's about what damage it did to your body. So I am going to, for one, when we're done with this, prior to me taking a nice huge chunk of my freshly baked bread pudding, drizzled with my bourbon sauce.
With the bourbon sauce. I'm going to put on my mask and go over your house now.
I am socially distant right now, Vincent.
That's okay. Cut up a slice and throw it out the window. I got it.
You're going to do a drive-by bread pudding run?
I'm going to do a drive-by. I'm going along, Eric. Throw it.
Hey, listen, guys.
See, if me could sterilize it as it go through the air, I think we got it, bro.
Listen, we try to bring some lightness to the show and talking about some things, but there's some real serious things that we need to be focused on, right? So let's pay attention. Let's stay socially distant, or keep our social distancing, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I say keep our physical distance, but keep socially intact.
Keep our physical distance and socially intact. I like that. I may design a shirt. Socially, and you know what? You get 70% of the sales for that. Socially distant. Put that in.
Wow, that's mighty white of you. Are you sure you're not a Republican?
Text that to me, Vincent. Seriously. Text it so I don't forget it. But listen, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Hit the share button. Vincent, I'm gonna post your link again, and let's see if we can get another 41 people to sign up.
Hey, Eric, try the link. Test the link to see what's going on.
I will. I'll do it as soon as we end the show.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for having me on your show. Thank you, New Jersey. Thank you for all of those people who signed the petition. I want to say that, if elected, I will not let you down. I will work hard. We're going to get some stuff done. And Eric will be elected, too. So, we'll have the tag team making that change. Political, economic, we're going to level the playing field and make changes in our lives.
Thanks for the call.
Nobody can give you independence. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. If you can't take it, you don't deserve it. Nobody can give it to you. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine.